The information provided in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute professional automotive, legal, or financial advice. Automotive repairs involve inherent risks, including potential vehicle damage and personal injury. Interstate repair centers operate under varying state laws and corporate policies. Viewers are strongly encouraged to conduct their own due diligence, consult with certified mechanical professionals, and review their specific vehicle warranty and insurance policies before authorizing any repairs. The creators of this content are not responsible for any actions taken based on the information presented. The average American driver will experience at least one catastrophic mechanical failure on a major interstate during their lifetime. But what most do not realize is that the moment your vehicle is hooked to a tow truck and pulled behind the locked gates of an interstate repair facility, you lose approximately 80% of your negotiating leverage. You are no longer a customer in a competitive market. You are a captive participant in a high-stakes logistical crisis. Historical trends indicate that interstate repair centers, often located in remote areas or at massive travel hubs, operate on a completely different economic model than your local neighborhood mechanic. While your hometown shop relies on repeat business and community reputation, an interstate center often relies on a one-time, high-urgency transaction. This fundamental shift in the business dynamic is why a simple alternator replacement that might cost $400 in a suburban town can easily balloon into a $1,200 ordeal when you are stranded 500 miles from home. This deep dive masterclass is designed to pull back the curtain on this often opaque industry. By the end of this series, you will understand the precise mechanics of how these centers operate, from the triage software they use to the way they prioritize fleet vehicles over individual travelers. We are solving the problem of the information gap that costs American travelers millions of dollars annually in unnecessary fees, overdiagnoses, and predatory labor markups. We are moving beyond the surface-level advice of checking your oil and diving into the actual systems of interstate commerce that dictate whether you get back on the road in 4 hours or 4 days. When you pull into an interstate auto repair center, especially those attached to major truck stops or travel plazas, you are entering a facility designed for maximum throughput. These centers are the arteries of American logistics. They are built to service Class 8 semi-trucks that are losing $500 every hour they sit idle. Because of this, the individual passenger vehicle is often viewed as a secondary priority. This is the first reality you must grasp. Historical data from industry reports suggest that labor rates at these facilities are frequently indexed to the commercial trucking market, which can be significantly higher than the standard consumer rate. You might find a shop rate of $150 to $220 per hour, justified by the specialized equipment and 24-hour staffing requirements these centers maintain. Case studies of stranded motorists often highlight a phenomenon known as the emergency premium. This is not always a literal line item on your bill, but it manifests in how parts are sourced and how labor is allocated. For example, a local shop might wait 2 days to get a part from a preferred wholesaler to save you $50. An interstate center, knowing your hotel bill is climbing and your schedule is crumbling, will often source the first available part regardless of cost, sometimes utilizing hot-shot delivery services that add a significant delivery fee to the invoice. Potential outcomes for an uninformed driver include paying a 30% markup on parts and an additional expediting fee that they may not even realize is negotiable. The intake process at these centers is your first critical touchpoint. In a viral-style scenario, imagine you are at a desk in a dimly lit waiting room that smells of diesel and stale coffee. The service advisor behind the plexiglass is not just a coordinator. They are a high-volume salesperson. They are using sophisticated shop management software that prompts them to suggest preventative maintenance based on your vehicle's mileage the moment they enter your VIN. This is where many drivers fall into a trap. They are already stressed, their kids are tired, and the advisor mentions that while they are fixing the serpentine belt, they notice the water pump looks worn. In the context of an interstate breakdown, every additional recommendation must be scrutinized against the immediate goal of reaching your destination safely. Understanding the triage system is essential. Unlike a local shop that operates on a first-come, first-served basis, interstate centers often use a severity and fleet priority model. If a major logistics company has a national account with that center, their truck will almost always jump to the front of the line, even if you arrive 3 hours earlier. This is a cold reality of the American transportation economy. We will explore how to identify if you are being pushed to the back of the queue, and the specific terminology you can use to ensure your vehicle is being actively diagnosed. Furthermore, we must discuss the diagnostic fee structure. In many interstate centers, the diagnostic fee is a non-refundable upfront cost that can range from $100 to $300. Historical trends show that some facilities use this fee as a barrier to entry. If you decide the repair quote is too high and want to tow your vehicle elsewhere, you are still out that diagnostic fee, plus the initial tow bill, plus the storage fees which can accrue daily. This sunk cost is what keeps many drivers from seeking a second opinion, even when they suspect the quote is inflated. We will break down how to ask for a transparency report before the diagnostic begins, which can potentially lead to a more honest assessment of the labor hours required. The geography of the United States also plays a massive role in what you can expect. A repair center on I-95 in the Northeast operates under different consumer protection laws and labor availability than a shop on I-80 in the middle of Wyoming. In more remote areas, the parts monopoly is a very real factor. If there is only one distributor within 100 miles that carries a specific sensor for a late-model German SUV, that distributor knows they can charge a premium. This cost is passed directly to you. We will look at data regarding regional price variances and how to use mobile technology to verify part costs in real time while you are sitting in that waiting room. We are also going to examine the environmental and shop supply fees. On a standard $500 repair, these fees can quietly add $50 to $75 to your total. While these are historical staples of the industry intended to cover the cost of hazardous waste disposal and small consumables like brake cleaner or shop rags, interstate centers often cap these at a much higher percentage than local garages. Knowing the statutory limits of these fees in the state where you are stranded is a powerful tool for your wallet. This masterclass is about more than just avoiding a high bill. It is about safety and sovereignty. When you are on the interstate, your vehicle is your lifeline. Being able to distinguish between a technician who is genuinely concerned about your wheel bearing failing at 70 miles per hour and an advisor who is trying to hit a monthly sales quota is the difference between a successful road trip and a financial disaster. We will be looking at actual case studies of interstate repairs, analyzing invoices line by line, and giving you the step-by-step scripts to use when talking to a service manager who tells you that your car is unsafe to drive, but cannot show you why. By the time we finish this 10-part series, you will have a comprehensive understanding of the interstate auto repair landscape. You will know about the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act and how it protects you even when you are thousands of miles from the dealership. You will understand the logistics of remanufactured versus new parts in a high-speed environment. Most importantly, you will have the confidence to manage a crisis instead of being managed by it. This is the definitive guide to surviving the American interstate repair system. Let's get to work on the specifics of the initial tow and the first 15 minutes of the intake process. I can begin detailing the specific tactics for negotiating the initial diagnostic fee or move into the triage and priority phase of the repair. Which section should we expand on first? The transition from the highway shoulder to the service desk is often the most critical window of time in the entire repair process. To understand why, we have to look at the immediate financial barrier you will face, the diagnostic fee. Imagine a driver named Sarah in June 2026, traveling across the I-80 corridor through Nebraska in her 3-year-old hybrid SUV. When a warning light appears on her digital dashboard indicating a powertrain malfunction, Sarah is forced to pull into a massive interstate travel center. The moment she speaks to the service advisor, she is presented with a non-negotiable diagnostic fee of $189. To Sarah, this feels like a steep entry price just to have someone look at her car. But in the professional landscape of 2026, this fee is a calculated reflection of the shop's operational overhead. Interstate repair centers must invest heavily in specialized equipment that your local independent mechanic might not carry. By 2026, most vehicles utilize complex localized area networks and high-speed Ethernet architectures. To diagnose Sarah's hybrid system, the technician cannot simply use a generic code reader from an auto parts store. They are using professional-grade diagnostic suites like Mitchell One or Snap-on Zeus platforms, which require monthly subscriptions costing hundreds or even thousands of dollars per month per bay. Furthermore, these shops often pay for pass-through programming access directly from manufacturers like Ford, Toyota, or General Motors. This access allows them to download the latest firmware updates to your vehicle's control modules, which is frequently the only way to resolve modern software-induced mechanical failures. Historical trends show that as vehicle complexity increases, the The diagnostic fee serves as a vital filter to ensure the shop covers the cost of the highly trained technician's time, which is usually billed at a minimum of 1 hour regardless of how long the scan takes. Once Sarah pays that fee, her vehicle enters the triage system, which is where the internal mechanics of interstate commerce really begin to dictate her experience. This is not a simple first-in, first-out line. In 2026, these centers utilize sophisticated shop management software that categorizes every incoming vehicle into a color-coded priority queue. In Sarah's case, she might see a large digital board in the waiting area showing several semi-trucks and delivery vans ahead of her. This is because fleet vehicles operating under national accounts have service-level agreements that mandate a specific turnaround time. If a major logistics company like Amazon or FedEx has a contract with this specific interstate chain, their vehicles are the green-coded priority. They are the recurring revenue that keeps the shop's lights on. Sarah, as a retail traveler, is often coded as a yellow or red priority. This means that even if her repair is simple, she may wait hours for a bay to open up simply because a fleet truck arrived 10 minutes after her with a high-priority work order. Potential outcomes for Sarah depend heavily on how she conducts herself during the first 15 minutes of the intake process. Historical case studies of consumer behavior in repair shops suggest that service advisors are trained to listen for specific keywords that indicate a driver's level of desperation. If Sarah immediately tells the advisor that she has a non-refundable hotel reservation in Denver that night, or that she is traveling alone and feels unsafe, she has unintentionally signaled that she is price-insensitive and time-sensitive. In the industry, this is known as a high-urgency profile. While most shops operate with high ethical standards, the reality of a high-pressure interstate environment is that the advisor may prioritize parts that are immediately available but more expensive, rather than taking the time to source a more cost-effective alternative that might arrive the following morning. To navigate this, Sarah should utilize a specific communication strategy. Instead of focusing on her travel schedule, she should focus on the technical scope of the work. A case study involving a stranded motorist in 2025 showed that drivers who asked for a line item estimate and requested to see the specific error codes produced by the OBD3 telematics system were often treated with a higher level of professional transparency. Sarah should say something along the lines of, "I would like to pay the diagnostic fee," and receive a printed report of the fault codes and the suggested labor hours based on the industry standard labor guide. This signals to the advisor that Sarah is aware of how the shop calculates its billing, and that she expects her repair to follow the same standardized data used by her mechanic back home. The labor rate itself is another area where many interstate travelers feel a sense of sticker shock. In 2026, a standard interstate labor rate in a high-traffic corridor can range from $180 to $240 per hour. This is significantly higher than the $120 Sarah might pay at a suburban shop in her hometown. This discrepancy is justified by the shop's 24-hour operation, the higher property taxes associated with prime interstate real estate, and the premium pay required to keep master technicians on site during nights and weekends. Sarah must understand that she is paying for the convenience of location and availability. However, a deep dive into the labor guide reveals a critical detail: the difference between flat rate and actual time. Most shops use a flat rate system where a specific job, like replacing an alternator, is billed at a set number of hours determined by a national database like AllData. If the guide says the job takes 3 hours, Sarah is billed for 3 hours, even if the technician finishes in 90 minutes. Conversely, if the car is rusted and the job takes 5 hours, she still only pays for 3. In an interstate setting where speed is prioritized, technicians are often highly incentivized to beat the flat rate, which can sometimes lead to rushed work. Another factor that deepens the complexity of the interstate repair center is the sourcing of parts. In a local setting, a mechanic might call 3 different warehouses to find the best price. On the interstate, time is the enemy. The shop will typically call their primary distributor, often a heavy-duty or commercial-grade supplier, and take whatever is on the next delivery truck. This can lead to a parts markup of 50 to 100% over the retail price. Sarah might find that a sensor that costs $80 on a common automotive website is listed for $160 on her invoice. This is often framed as a necessity for the shop to provide a nationwide warranty on the part. If that sensor fails again when Sarah is 3 states away, a corporate interstate chain will often cover the labor and the replacement part at any of their other locations. This nationwide coverage is a historical trend that adds value to the higher price point, but it is only valuable if Sarah is actually planning to continue her trip. As Sarah sits in the waiting room, She is surrounded by the sights and sounds of the American logistics machine. She hears the pneumatic impact wrenches and the constant chatter of the service radio. What she doesn't see is the behind-the-scenes negotiation happening between the shop and the parts distributors. In 2026, many of these shops use automated inventory systems that predict which parts will fail most often on common interstate vehicles. If Sarah's SUV uses a common water pump that the shop keeps in stock, her wait time might be minimal. But if her vehicle requires a specialized component that must be shipped in from a metropolitan hub 200 miles away, she enters a new phase of the crisis: the logistics of the overnight stay. This is where the financial impact of an interstate breakdown truly escalates. It is no longer just about the car. It is about the sudden need for lodging, food, and alternative transportation. We need to examine how these centers coordinate with local hotels and rideshare services, and more importantly, how the shop's estimate can suddenly change once they know you are staying the night. If the shop knows you are already in a hotel, the urgency to finish your car by 5 p.m. may evaporate, as they shift their focus to vehicles that can still be cleared out before the shift change. Understanding the triage system and the diagnostic process is only the beginning. The real challenge arrives when the service advisor walks into the waiting room with a printed clipboard in hand. This is the moment where the quote is presented, and the psychological pressure reaches its peak. You are about to see exactly how these quotes are structured, and the 3 specific line items you must look for before you sign your name. But before we get to the numbers, we have to look at what happens when the technician actually opens the hood and finds something they didn't expect. What happens when a $200 fix turns into a $2,000 engine teardown? We will explore the reality of the secondary diagnosis in the next part. The service advisor walks back into the waiting area, but he is not carrying a paper invoice. In 2026, the standard operating procedure for a high-volume interstate repair center involves a digital vehicle inspection, or DVI. He hands Sarah a tablet, or more likely, sends a secure link directly to her smartphone. This is the moment the secondary diagnosis begins, and it is where the financial scope of the repair can fundamentally shift. When Sarah opens the link, she sees a high-definition video recorded by the technician under the chassis of her hybrid SUV. The technician is using a handheld thermal imaging camera to point out a heat signature that should not be there. This is the secondary diagnosis. While the initial scan tool reported a simple sensor error, the physical inspection has revealed a hairline fracture in the thermal management housing for the high-voltage battery. This scenario represents a common historical trend in interstate repairs, known as consequential damage. In a high-speed environment like an American interstate, mechanical failures rarely happen in isolation. If a cooling fan fails at 75 miles per hour, the resulting heat soak can compromise gaskets, sensors, and structural plastics within seconds. The technician explains that while they can replace the sensor to clear the dashboard light, the underlying leak will cause a total system shutdown within the next 50 miles. This puts Sarah in a psychological vice. She is now facing a choice between a $250 patch and a $2,400 comprehensive repair. To navigate this, we must understand the mechanics of the digital vehicle inspection. By 2026, these reports are designed for maximum transparency, but also for maximum conversion. The software uses a traffic light system: green for items that are within manufacturer specifications, yellow for items that require attention soon, and red for critical failures. A case study of a traveler named Marcus on I-75 in Georgia provides a perfect example. Marcus was driving a heavy-duty diesel truck, towing a 30-foot trailer when his turbocharger began to whistle. The initial diagnosis was a loose intake boot, a $150 fix. However, the DVI report showed metal particulate in the oil filter housing. The technician's notes indicated that the turbocharger's internal bearings were disintegrating. In Marcus's case, the shop presented him with a red-coded critical failure. They used the phrase that every interstate traveler dreads: the vehicle is unsafe to drive. Historically, this phrase has significant legal and liability implications. In many states, if a shop releases a vehicle they have documented as unsafe, and that vehicle causes an accident, the shop can be held partially liable. Consequently, they may ask the driver to sign a liability waiver before they can take the vehicle. This creates a high-stakes atmosphere. For Marcus, the potential outcomes were either authorizing a $4,500 turbocharger and oil system flush, or paying for an expensive heavy-duty tow to another facility that might tell him the exact same thing. When you are faced with a secondary diagnosis, the first thing you must do is check for labor overlap. This is a technical detail that saves savvy drivers thousands of dollars annually. Imagine if the technician has already disassembled the top half of the engine to reach a faulty fuel injector. While they are in there, they notice the valve cover gasket is leaking. A predatory quote will list the full labor time for the injector and the full labor time for the gasket as if they were two separate jobs. However, a fair estimate in 2026 should reflect that the engine is already open. The additional labor to swap the gasket should be minimal, perhaps only 15 to 30 minutes. You must ask the service advisor specifically, how many hours of labor overlap are reflected in this secondary quote? If they cannot answer or if the hours seem duplicated, you are looking at a padded estimate. Another critical factor in 2026 is the use of artificial intelligence in part failure prediction. Many interstate centers now use software that compares your vehicle's current symptoms against a national database of millions of similar make and model vehicles. The advisor might tell Sarah that based on historical data, vehicles of her mileage that experience a thermal housing crack almost always experience a secondary pump failure within 5,000 miles. They are essentially selling you a future repair today. While this can be viewed as helpful preventative maintenance, you must weigh the potential outcomes of doing it now versus waiting until you are home. On the interstate, the shop's goal is to maximize the utility of the bay. If they have your car disassembled, it is more profitable for them to perform 5 repairs at once than to do one and send you on your way. Step by step, here is how you should handle the secondary diagnosis walkthrough. First, request that the technician show you the physical evidence in person, not just on the screen. While DVIs are excellent, seeing the actual part and the nature of the failure provides context that a camera might miss. Look for the difference between a clean break and long-term wear. A clean break suggests a sudden failure, while long-term wear, like a slow oil leak that has accumulated thick grime, suggests a problem you may have been living with for months. If it is the latter, you likely do not need to fix it in an interstate emergency setting. You can wait until you reach your destination or return to your trusted local mechanic. Second, ask for the priority list. Tell the advisor to categorize the repairs into 3 buckets. What is required to get the car moving, what is required for safety, and what is recommended for long-term health. An interstate repair center's job is primarily bucket 1 and 2. If the repair falls into bucket 3, you should almost always decline it. For example, if Marcus's truck needs a turbocharger to move, that is bucket 1. If the technician also notices the brake pads are at 20% life, that is bucket 3. It is not an emergency, and the interstate premium price is not worth it. Third, verify the part sourcing for the secondary repair. Often, a shop will have the primary part in stock but will have to order the secondary parts. This can lead to a situation where your car is stuck on a lift for 2 extra days waiting for a $5 O-ring. Ask specifically, are all the parts for this secondary diagnosis currently in the building? If they are not, ask for the estimated time of arrival and the name of the courier service. In 2026, real-time tracking of parts is standard, and the advisor should be able to give you a window of arrival within 2 hours. The complexity of modern vehicles, especially the high-voltage systems in 2026 hybrids and electric vehicles, means that a secondary diagnosis is almost inevitable during an interstate breakdown. The heat and stress of highway speeds act as a diagnostic tool in themselves, exposing every weak link in the chain. As Sarah stands in that Nebraska repair center, she has to decide if she trusts the data on her screen. But there is one more factor that she hasn't considered yet: the hidden cost of the corporate versus independent business model. The way her bill is calculated changes drastically depending on whether the shop is a family-owned franchise or a massive corporate entity. We have covered the intake, the triage, and the dreaded secondary diagnosis. Now we have to talk about the actual negotiation of the final bill. There are specific phrases that can trigger a discount and certain actions that can cause the shop to expedite your repair over a fleet vehicle. In the next part, we will dive into the corporate hierarchy of these centers and how to reach the person who actually has the power to lower your labor rate. We will also reveal the truth about the national warranty and why it might not be as ironclad as the brochure suggests. The real battle for your wallet starts the moment the technician puts down the wrench. To understand the true weight of the final invoice, we must first dismantle the biggest marketing pillar of the interstate repair industry: the national warranty. As you sit in the lobby of a high-tech service center in 2026, you will likely see digital signage boasting about a 24-month or 24,000-mile nationwide warranty. For a traveler like David, who is driving a 2026 electric pickup truck across the blistering heat of I-10 in West Texas, this sounds like the ultimate safety net. However, historical trends in the automotive service industry reveal a much more complex reality. Most interstate repair centers are not owned by a single monolithic corporation. They are often a patchwork of independent franchises or licensed affiliates. Imagine if David's cooling system repair, performed in El Paso, fails 3 days later when he reaches San Antonio. Under the terms of a standard national warranty, the San Antonio shop is theoretically obligated to fix the issue. But in practice, a case study from 2025 involving a similar cross-country failure showed that the second shop often refuses to begin work until the original shop in El Paso pre-authorizes the labor claim. This creates a bureaucratic stalemate. If the El Paso shop is closed for the weekend or if their service manager disputes the cause of the second failure, David is left stranded. The San Antonio shop does not want to work for free, and the El Paso shop does not want to pay a competitor's labor rates. This is the first hidden friction point of the national warranty. It is often a reimbursement model, not a seamless service model. You may find yourself paying for the second repair out of pocket, and then spending months fighting for a refund from the original facility. This brings us to the internal hierarchy of the Interstate Repair Center and how it dictates your ability to negotiate. In 2026, the person you are speaking with at the counter is a service advisor, but their job description is closer to a high-pressure sales consultant. They are often compensated on a commission structure tied to the gross profit of the repair orders they write. Because of this, their primary incentive is to maintain the integrity of the shop's published labor rate. To find a different outcome, you must understand the role of the service manager. Unlike the advisor, the manager is responsible for the overall profit and loss statement of the facility. They have the authority to utilize what is known in the industry as a customer goodwill account. This is a specific budget set aside to resolve disputes and keep the shop's online reputation intact. If David finds that his bill includes an $800 labor charge for a job that the industry standard labor guide says should take 4 hours, he should not argue with the advisor. Instead, he should ask for a meeting with the service manager to discuss the labor variance. A successful negotiation strategy in 2026 involves referencing specific data points. David should have a digital copy of the motor or Chilton labor guide for his specific vehicle. By saying, "I see that the national average for this specific VIN-coded repair is 4.2 hours, but I am being billed for 6.5, David moves the conversation from an emotional plea to a data-driven inquiry. Historical trends show that when a customer presents verified labor data, shops are 40% more likely to adjust the invoice to match the industry standard, rather than risking a formal complaint with the state's Bureau of Automotive Repair. Furthermore, we must address the corporate versus independent business model. By 2026, many interstate hubs have been acquired by private equity firms that use dynamic pricing algorithms. Much like airline tickets or rideshare surges, these algorithms can adjust labor rates based on the current volume of the shop. If the facility is currently overwhelmed with broken-down freight trucks, the algorithm may push the retail labor rate for a passenger vehicle to its maximum ceiling to discourage low-margin work. Conversely, if the bays are empty, there is significant room for negotiation. David can use this to his advantage by asking a simple, high-leverage question. What is your current bay utilization rate? If the shop is at low capacity, the manager is much more likely to offer a fleet rate match or a first-time traveler discount just to keep their technicians clocked in and productive. Another specific phrase that can trigger a downward adjustment in the bill is the request for a fleet rate equivalence. Most interstate centers have a pre-negotiated lower labor rate for large logistics companies like UPS or specialized trucking fleets. While David is a private citizen, he can point out that he is a member of a national roadside assistance program or a professional organization. In 2026, these memberships often have undisclosed back-channel agreements with major repair chains. By asking, "Does this facility honor the preferred labor tier for national roadside members?" David may see his labor rate drop from $210 per hour to $165 per hour without any further conflict. We also need to look at the shop supplies and hazardous waste line items. These are historical junk fees that have migrated into the digital age. In a $1,500 repair, it is common to see a 10% flat fee for shop supplies, adding $150 to the bill for items like floor mats, grease, and cleaning solvents. However, in many states, there is a legal cap on how much a shop can charge for these consumables. David should check the local state statutes. If the state cap is $50 and the shop has charged $150, he has immediate legal leverage to have that fee corrected. This is not about being difficult. It is about ensuring that the shop is adhering to the consumer protection laws of the state where the repair is occurring. The final step in this negotiation masterclass involves the method of payment. By 2026, many Interstate centers prefer digital wallet transfers or proprietary shop credit cards to avoid the high merchant fees of traditional credit cards. If David offers to pay via a direct bank-to-business transfer or a specialized automotive payment app, he can often negotiate a 3 to 5% cash discount. This is a significant potential outcome on a multi-thousand-dollar engine repair. As David prepares to pay and get back on the road, he feels a sense of relief, but there is one final trap he hasn't considered. The moment he pays the bill, he is often asked to sign a document that includes a release of liability and a notice of mechanic's lien. Most people sign these without reading them, but in an interstate setting, these documents can have massive implications if the car breaks down again 5 miles down the road. We are about to dive into the legal fine print that these shops use to protect themselves from comeback repairs and what you need to cross out before you put pen to paper. But there is an even more pressing issue. What happens if you cannot afford the bill at all? In 2026, the mechanic's lien process has become automated. If you can't pay, the shop doesn't just keep your keys. They can legally initiate a title transfer process faster than you might think. We will explore the storage fee trap and the reality of vehicle impoundment in the next part. This is where a mechanical breakdown turns into a total loss of property. We are going to look at the emergency financing options available in 2026 and how to avoid the predatory lending cycles that target stranded motorists. The stakes are about to get much higher. The moment of truth arrives when the service advisor slides a digital tablet across the counter or sends a high-priority notification to your smartphone. For Alex, a graphic designer traveling from Atlanta to New York in mid-2026, the notification is a digital gut punch. The total for a sudden transmission control module failure and associated labor on his electric sedan is $4,850. Alex, like 60% of Americans according to historical trends in 2026, does not have $5,000 in liquid savings for an emergency. This is where the mechanical crisis transforms into a legal and financial battle for the ownership of the vehicle itself. If you find yourself in Alex's position, the first thing you must understand is the mechanic's lien. Historically, this legal construct allows a service provider to retain possession of a vehicle until the debt for repairs is satisfied. However, by 2026, many states have moved to an automated, digital lien filing system. In the past, a shop might have to wait weeks to file paperwork with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Today, the moment a repair order is marked as completed and unpaid in the shop's management software, a digital flag can be sent to the state's title registry. This effectively freezes the title. You cannot sell the car, you cannot trade it in, and in some jurisdictions, the shop can begin the process of a non-judicial foreclosure on the vehicle in as little as 30 to 60 days. While the lien is the hammer, the storage fee is the ticking clock that forces your hand. Imagine Alex decides he needs a week to move funds or secure a loan. The Interstate Repair Center is not a parking lot. It is high-value real estate. By 2026, storage fees at major interstate hubs have climbed to between $75 and $150 per day. These fees are often categorized into 2 tiers: outdoor unsecured storage and indoor climate-controlled storage. Shops will frequently place high-tech electric vehicles or luxury SUVs in indoor bays to protect sensitive battery components from extreme weather. But this comes at the higher $150 per day rate. In just 10 days of indecision, Alex could owe an additional $1,500 on top of his already impossible $4,850 bill. This is known as the storage trap, where the debt grows faster than the driver's ability to finance it. To avoid this, you must act within the first 4 hours of receiving the final quote. Step 1 is to request a formal stop work order if the total exceeds your immediate capacity. Even if the car is disassembled, stopping the clock on labor prevents the bill from escalating further. Step by step, Alex should then ask for a hard copy or PDF breakdown of the mandatory storage fee policy. Many shops have a grace period of 24 to 48 hours after a repair is completed. Knowing exactly when that $150 a day charge kicks in is essential for your timeline. Now, let's look at the emergency financing landscape of 2026. Most major interstate repair chains have partnered with point-of-sale financing firms. These are often marketed as buy now, pay later solutions for automotive care. When the service advisor says we have flexible payment options, they are referring to a rapid approval loan process. For For Alex, the potential outcomes of using this service are mixed. These platforms typically perform a soft credit pull and can offer 90-day interest-free periods. However, if Alex cannot pay the balance within those 90 days, historical data shows that interest rates can skyrocket to 29% or higher, backdated to the original date of the repair. This is a high-cost bridge loan that only works if you have a verified source of funds arriving shortly. Another avenue is the branded shop credit card. These cards often offer a higher credit limit specifically tailored to the cost of major engine or battery work. The trap here is the fine print regarding deferred interest. If Alex misses a single payment or fails to pay the full balance by the end of the promotional period, he could be hit with an interest charge that reflects the entire original $4,850 balance, not just the remaining amount. Case studies from 2025 highlight drivers who ended up paying double the original repair cost over 3 years due to these compounding interest structures. What if Alex's credit score doesn't qualify for point-of-sale financing? This is the danger zone where predatory lending enters the frame. Some shops in remote interstate areas may suggest third-party title loan companies. You must recognize that a title loan is a completely different animal than repair financing. In a title loan scenario, you are handing over the legal ownership of your vehicle in exchange for a high-interest cash loan to pay the shop. The APR on these loans can exceed 300% in certain states. If Alex takes a $4,000 title loan to get his car back, he could end up owing $12,000 by the end of the year. Historically, this is one of the leading causes of vehicle repossession for middle-class travelers. Instead of predatory loans, Alex should explore service contracts and negotiated releases. If the bill is $4,850, but the car's trade-in value is only $8,000, Alex is in a position of weak leverage. However, he can propose a payment plan directly to the service manager. While shops are not banks, a service manager may agree to a 50% down payment to cover the cost of parts, with the remaining balance paid over 60 days while the shop holds the title as collateral. This is a title hold agreement. It allows Alex to take the car and continue his trip to New York, but the shop retains the legal power to repossess the vehicle if he defaults. It is also crucial to verify the administrative processing fees and lien filing fees on the final invoice. By 2026, some shops have started charging a $250 fee just to generate the digital lien notice. You should challenge this fee if the shop has not yet filed the paperwork with the state. A case study from a motorist in Nevada showed that simply asking for proof of the state-level filing fee caused the shop to remove a $300 legal processing charge from the bill. If the situation is truly hopeless and Alex cannot find a way to pay, he must consider the voluntary surrender versus the abandonment path. Abandoning a vehicle at an interstate repair shop is a financial catastrophe. The storage fees will continue to accrue until the shop eventually auctions the car. If the auction price doesn't cover the repair bill plus the months of storage, the shop can sue Alex for the deficiency balance and report it to credit bureaus. A voluntary surrender involves negotiating a settlement where the shop takes the vehicle in exchange for a total release of debt. In 2026, with used car prices remaining high due to supply chain volatility, a shop may be willing to wipe the $4,850 debt if they can flip the car for a profit. Alex's journey through the financial gauntlet of an interstate repair center is a masterclass in modern consumer survival. He managed to secure a 90-day interest-free POS loan by demonstrating a steady income through his freelance platform's digital earnings history, a common verification method in 2026. He avoided the title loan, negotiated away the indoor storage fees, and verified that his labor rate was consistent with the national average for his vehicle type. But as Alex drives away from the Nebraska facility, he notices a slight vibration in the steering wheel that wasn't there before. He starts to wonder, did they actually use the high-quality OEM parts he paid for? Or did they swap in a white-label alternative to increase their margin? And more importantly, if this new part fails in 500 miles, does he have any recourse once he leaves the state line? The next part of our masterclass dives into the part swap scandal and the forensic ways you can verify the work before you leave the parking lot. We are going to show you exactly where to look under the hood to ensure you got what you paid for. To begin this forensic audit, you must exercise a right that many motorists forget in the heat of a breakdown: the right to inspect and retain your replaced components. In almost every state in the United States, including high-traffic corridors like the I-95 in Florida or the I-5 in California, Consumer protection laws mandate that a shop must return your old parts to you if you request them at the time the work order is signed. This is your primary defense against the parts swap scandal, a practice where a shop might charge you for a high-end original equipment manufacturer part, but actually install a lower-grade, white-label alternative. Historical trends in the interstate repair industry suggest that parts markups are the primary driver of profit margins, and the temptation to substitute a $150 generic alternator for a $450 factory-certified unit is a reality that some high-volume centers struggle to resist. Imagine a driver named Jordan in July 2026, traveling through the humid corridors of South Carolina. Jordan's vehicle, a 2023 domestic pickup truck, suffered a radiator failure. The Interstate Center quoted him for a genuine factory replacement, citing the need for specific cooling fins designed for heavy-duty towing. To verify this work before leaving the parking lot, Jordan followed a specific three-step forensic protocol. First, he requested to see the old radiator. By inspecting the failed part, Jordan could confirm that the leak was where the technician claimed it was, ensuring the diagnosis was honest. Second, he looked for the box and the shipping manifest for the new part. In 2026, most reputable parts manufacturers include a QR code or a serialized holographic sticker on the packaging. By scanning this with a smartphone, a driver can instantly verify the authenticity and the warranty status of the component. If the shop claims they already threw the box away, this is a red flag. A high-value component like a radiator, a turbocharger, or a high-voltage battery module always comes with documentation. Jordan's next step was a physical inspection under the hood. He looked for the telltale signs of a white-label part. These parts often lack the embossed brand logo of the vehicle manufacturer and may have universal fit brackets that look slightly out of place. More importantly, he checked the serial number etched into the plastic or metal casing of the new radiator. By comparing this number to the part number listed on his final invoice, Jordan ensured there was a one-to-one match. Potential outcomes of skipping this step include paying a 300% markup for a part that may have a significantly shorter lifespan than the OEM equivalent. The forensic audit must also extend to the fluids. In 2026, automotive fluids have become highly specialized. Putting generic green coolant into a system designed for advanced organic acid technology can lead to internal corrosion within months. To verify a fluid flush, you should use the clean paper towel test. Before you start the engine, pull the dipstick or check the reservoir. Fresh oil should be amber and translucent. Fresh coolant should be vibrant and match the specific color designated in your owner's manual. If the fluid looks cloudy or dark, the shop may have performed a top-off instead of a full flush, a common shortcut in high-turnover interstate facilities. In Jordan's case, he noticed the coolant was the correct shade of translucent orange, indicating a proper exchange of the thermal management fluid. The next phase of verification is the post-repair test drive, and this is where most drivers fail by simply driving away toward the highway. You must insist that the technician or the service advisor accompanies you on a 5-mile loop. This is not a casual drive. It is a systematic stress test. Start with the windows down and the radio and air conditioning off. You are listening for any mechanical dissonance, whining, clicking, or grinding that wasn't there before. For Jordan, this meant listening for the specific hum of the cooling fans. If the fans don't kick in at the right temperature, the new radiator is useless. During this test drive, you should perform 3 specific maneuvers. First, a low-speed, full-lock turn in both directions to check for any interference with hoses or wiring that might have been moved during the repair. Second, a moderate acceleration to highway speeds to ensure the part is functioning under load. Third, a firm braking maneuver to check for vibrations. Historical case studies show that many secondary failures occur within the first 10 miles of leaving a shop because a bolt wasn't torqued to specification or a plastic clip wasn't fully seated. By having the technician in the car, you eliminate the shop's ability to claim that a new noise is a separate issue that developed after you left their premises. In 2026, the digital side of the repair is just as important as the physical. Every modern vehicle records a history of cleared codes and system adaptations. Before you pay, ask for a copy of the post-repair scan report. This document proves that the technician successfully performed a global system reset and that all onboard controllers are communicating correctly. If the report shows any pending codes, even if the check engine light is off, the job is not finished. Jordan noticed a pending code for a low coolant sensor on his report. This led to the discovery that the technician had forgotten to reconnect a single wire harness, A mistake that would have left Jordan stranded again 50 miles down the road in the middle of a swampy stretch of I-95. We must also discuss the labor transparency aspect of the forensic audit. Look at the labor hours on the invoice and compare them to the timestamps on the digital vehicle inspection report you received earlier. If the DVI was sent at 2 p.m. and the car was marked ready for pickup at 3:30 p.m., but you are being billed for 5 hours of labor, there is a massive discrepancy. While shops use a flat rate system, an extreme gap between the actual time the car spent in the bay and the billed hours is a point of negotiation. You are entitled to ask, why does the industry guide suggest this is a 5-hour job when your own digital records show it was completed in 90 minutes? While the shop may stick to the flat rate, this inquiry often leads to a goodwill discount on the shop supplies or the diagnostic fee we discussed in the previous part. Finally, verify the national warranty registration. In 2026, many interstate chains require the technician to upload a photo of the installed part and the odometer reading to a central corporate database to activate your nationwide protection. Ask the advisor to show you the confirmation screen of this upload. Without this digital handshake, your 24-month warranty may only be valid at that specific remote location, leaving you with zero recourse when you return to your home state. Jordan followed every one of these steps. He spent an extra 45 minutes at the shop, but he left with the certainty that his truck was safe for the remaining 600 miles of his trip. He had his old parts in a box in the truck bed, a verified OEM serial number on his radiator, and a clean digital health report. But as Jordan merged back onto the interstate, he realized that he had forgotten one crucial thing: the hidden telematics factor. In 2026, your car is constantly sending data back to the manufacturer, and sometimes, an interstate repair can trigger a warranty void flag if the proper software handshakes aren't performed. We are about to dive into the world of automotive data sovereignty and how a simple repair can accidentally lock you out of your own vehicle's advanced features. The battle between the independent repair shop and the manufacturer's software locks is the new frontier of the American road trip. In the next part, we will explore the software lockout and the specific digital keys you need to ensure your car remains your property after a major repair. It is 2026, and the physical wrench is only half the battle in the modern American automotive landscape. Imagine Elena, a freelance architect driving her high-performance electric crossover through the desolate stretches of I-15 in Utah. After a minor collision with road debris damaged her front-facing radar and a cooling shutter, a highly rated interstate repair center performed the physical replacement. The parts were shiny, the bolts were tight, and the coolant was topped off. But the moment Elena pressed the start button, the dashboard didn't show her navigation or her battery range. Instead, it displayed a stark, red notification: feature restricted, unauthorized component detected. This is the software lockout, and in 2026, it is the most common reason a successful physical repair results in a failed road trip. To understand why Elena's car is effectively a brick despite being physically repaired, we have to look at the concept of parts pairing or component matching. Historical trends in the automotive industry have moved toward a closed-loop digital ecosystem. In 2026, nearly every electronic module in your vehicle, from the power steering rack to the headlight assembly, is serialized and cryptographically signed at the factory. When a technician installs a new part, the vehicle's central gateway module performs a digital handshake. If the serial number of the new part does not match the whitelist stored in the vehicle's permanent memory, the car may disable the part entirely or worse, enter a limp mode that limits your speed to 20 miles per hour for safety reasons. This is not a mechanical failure. It is a software policy. Elena's situation is a perfect case study in the importance of the software handshake. The Interstate Repair Center she visited had the tools to bolt the radar back on, but they lacked the specific manufacturer-level subscription to talk to the car's brain. By 2026, most major manufacturers like Ford, GM, and Tesla have implemented secure gateway modules. These are digital firewalls that prevent unauthorized diagnostic tools from making changes to the vehicle's configuration. To initialize Elena's new radar, the shop needed a J2534 pass-through device and an active, paid-per-day license from the manufacturer's portal. Without this, the new part is just an expensive piece of plastic and silicon that the car refuses to acknowledge. Potential outcomes for drivers who ignore this digital reality are severe. If you are stranded in a remote area, the local shop might tell you they can fix the car, but they may not mention that they cannot perform the final software calibration. You could pay $2,000 for a repair only to find that your adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, and emergency braking are all disabled. In some 2026 models, the car may even refuse to engage the drive gear if it detects an unauthenticated module in the safety-critical CAN bus. This is why you must ask the service advisor a very specific question before they touch the car. Do you have the authorized OEM diagnostic software and the hardware keys to perform module initialization for this specific VIN? Furthermore, we must address the issue of data sovereignty. In 2026, your car is a mobile data center. Every time it is plugged into a diagnostic port, a log of that event is often uploaded to the manufacturer's cloud servers. If an independent shop uses a cracked or unauthorized diagnostic tool to bypass a software lock, the manufacturer may flag your vehicle's digital twin in their database. This has historical precedence in the electronics industry and has now fully migrated to the automotive world. A case study from early 2026 involved a motorist in Nevada whose warranty was challenged because the manufacturer's telematics system detected an unauthorized software right-level access during an interstate repair. While right-to-repair laws are evolving, the burden of proof often falls on the consumer to show that the third-party software didn't compromise the vehicle's safety systems. Step by step, here is how you ensure your car remains your property after a repair. First, you must request a flash report or a calibration certificate. This is a digital document generated by the diagnostic software after the new part has been successfully paired. It lists the old part serial number, the new part serial number, and the timestamp of the successful authentication with the manufacturer's server. If the shop cannot provide this, the software handshake was likely skipped. Second, you must check for over-the-air or OTA compatibility. In 2026, many vehicles receive weekly software updates via cellular connection. If a part was installed using a bypass method, the next OTA update from the manufacturer might detect the non-genuine handshake and relock the component while you are driving. Elena should ask, is this part registered with the OEM server to ensure it survives the next system update? There is also the matter of the digital key and user profile. Many modern vehicles link the car's functionality to a digital key stored on your phone or a cloud-based user profile. A major repair, especially one involving the 12-volt or high-voltage battery system, can sometimes trigger a security reset. If the shop doesn't know how to properly put the car into service mode, you might find yourself locked out of your own vehicle's premium features, like heated seats or high-fidelity audio, which are increasingly sold as software as a service. You may need to re-authenticate your ownership through a multi-factor process that requires a stable internet connection, something that isn't always available at a remote interstate repair hub. As Elena stood in the Utah sun, she realized that her mechanical problem had become a digital identity crisis. The shop eventually had to call a mobile diagnostic specialist, a new breed of technician in 2026, who travels with a trunk full of factory laptops and hardware tokens. This added another $400 to Elena's bill and delayed her trip by another 4 hours. This is the hidden tax of the modern interstate repair, the software labor rate. The complexity of these systems also means that the diagnostic data itself is a commodity. When the shop scans Elena's car, they are seeing a history of her driving habits, her frequent locations, and even her average speed. In 2026, you should ask for a data privacy disclosure. You have the right to know if the shop is selling your diagnostic logs to third-party data aggregators or insurance companies. Historical trends show that some free diagnostic checks are actually subsidized by the sale of this data. Ensure that the shop's privacy policy prevents the sharing of your vehicle's telematics data with anyone other than the technician working on the car. We are entering an era where the hardware is reliable, but the software is a gatekeeper. Elena eventually got her car back with all features restored, but only after she insisted on a verified OEM software handshake. She learned that in 2026, a mechanic without a laptop is just a spectator. But as she finally merged back onto I-15, a new warning appeared, one that had nothing to do with her radar. It was an alert from her insurance company's app, which had been monitoring the repair in real time. What happens when your insurance company and the repair shop are looking at the same live data stream from your car? The relationship between interstate repair centers and the insurance industry has changed drastically in 2026, leading to a phenomenon known as real-time claims adjustment. In the next part, we will explore how your car's telematics might be talking to your insurance adjuster behind your back, and the 3 things you must disable in your settings to prevent a repair from doubling your premiums. The digital paper trail is longer than you think, and it starts the second you hit the tow button. The The digital paper trail begins the exact millisecond you engage with your vehicle's emergency assistance button or open your manufacturer's mobile app to request a tow. Imagine a driver named Robert in October 2026, traveling through the heavy transit corridor of I-70 in Ohio. Robert is driving a 2026 mid-sized luxury SUV, equipped with the latest V2X, vehicle-to-everything communication suite. When a localized suspension failure occurs due to a massive unavoidable pothole, the car doesn't just stop, it broadcasts. Within seconds, Robert's insurance provider receives a telemetry packet. This packet includes the vehicle's speed at the time of the event, the G-force of the impact, the exact GPS coordinates, and a snapshot of the engine's health status. By the time Robert's vehicle is being winched onto a flatbed, his insurance company has already opened a preliminary claim file and is running an AI-driven predictive model on the potential cost of the repair. This is the reality of real-time claims adjustment in 2026. Historically, you had days to decide if you wanted to involve your insurance company in a mechanical or minor collision repair. Today, the choice is often made for you by the fine print in your policy's telematics agreement. As Robert walks into the Interstate Repair Center, the service advisor already has a notification on their screen. The shop's management system has performed a digital handshake with the insurance carrier's cloud. This creates a high-stakes environment where the repair center and the insurer are essentially negotiating the fate of Robert's car before he has even handed over his keys. To prevent this digital paper trail from doubling your premiums or leading to a premature total loss designation, you must understand the 3 specific settings in your vehicle's infotainment system that govern this data flow. Case studies from early 2026 suggest that drivers who fail to manage these settings often see a surcharge on their next renewal, because the insurance algorithm interprets a remote mechanical failure as evidence of high-risk driving behavior, regardless of the actual cause. The first setting you must address is the usage-based insurance or UBI real-time upload. In most 2026 models, this is found under the Privacy or Data Management submenu. This feature is often touted as a way to save money by proving you are a safe driver, but in an emergency repair scenario, it acts as a black box that the insurer can use to scrutinize the minutes leading up to the breakdown. If Robert was traveling even 5 miles per hour over the posted limit when he hit that pothole, the insurer might use that data to argue that the damage was due to driver negligence rather than a road hazard. By switching this to periodic upload or manual sync only during a repair event, you regain control over when your driving data is shared with the adjusters. The second critical setting is third-party diagnostic sharing. Many interstate repair centers are part of a direct repair program, or DRP. When the technician plugs their scanner into your OBD3 port, the data doesn't just stay in the shop. It is often automatically mirrored to a third-party aggregator that sells the information back to insurance companies and vehicle history reporting services. This can lead to a permanent mechanical flag on your vehicle's digital title. Even if the repair is perfect, the mere record of a high-voltage system fault or a powertrain intervention can slash your car's resale value by 20%. Robert needs to ensure that his vehicle's diagnostic privacy mode is set to local access only. This forces the shop to manually provide reports to the insurance company rather than allowing an automated, unvetted data dump. The third setting is the manufacturer telematics marketing opt-in. This is the most insidious of the 3 because it allows the car manufacturer to share your repair data with affiliate partners, which frequently include major insurance conglomerates. Historical trends indicate that these data-sharing agreements are a significant secondary revenue stream for car companies. If this is active, your manufacturer might send a notification to your insurer that your vehicle was serviced at an unauthorized or non-certified facility, which could impact your secondary warranty coverage or lead to a premium hike based on the perceived quality of the repair. As Robert sits in the waiting room, he is caught in a phenomenon known as the preferred shop trap. Because the Interstate Center is part of his insurer's network, the service advisor might push for a quitclaim settlement. This is where the insurer offers to pay the shop directly and waive Robert's deductible if he agrees to use refurbished or aftermarket parts. While this sounds convenient, the potential outcomes are often detrimental to the vehicle's long-term integrity. Insurance algorithms in 2026 are programmed to minimize the severity of a claim. If the shop is in the insurer's pocket, they may be incentivized to perform a subpar cosmetic fix, rather than the deep-dive mechanical restoration the car actually needs. Robert should utilize a specific step-by-step verification process to ensure his interests are being protected over the insurer's bottom line. First, he must demand a copy of the estimate supplement. In 2026, most initial estimates are performed by AI via photogrammetry. The shop takes photos of the car, and an algorithm generates a price. However, AI often misses internal structural or electronic damage. Robert needs to ensure that a human technician has performed a physical teardown and submitted a supplement to the insurance company for any hidden damage. Second, he must ask for a part type disclosure. He should insist on OEM, original equipment manufacturer, parts, especially for safety-critical systems like sensors and suspension components. If the insurance company refuses, Robert can cite the right to quality repair statutes that have gained traction in many U.S. states by 2026. There is also the matter of the digital valuation impact. In the 2026 market, a car's value is increasingly tied to its clean data record. Every time an Interstate shop logs a major repair into the centralized blockchain-based vehicle history systems used by dealers, that car's value takes a hit. Robert should ask the service advisor, is this repair being logged as a mechanical failure or a roadside assistance event? A roadside event is often viewed as a minor inconvenience, while a mechanical failure suggests a deeper, systemic issue with the vehicle. This distinction can save Robert thousands of dollars in future trade-in value. Furthermore, we must discuss the direct-to-consumer insurance payout. Some modern insurance apps will offer Robert an instant cash-out based on the AI's initial estimate. This is a trap. Historical case studies show that these instant payouts are typically 30 to 40% lower than the actual cost of a professional repair. Once Robert accepts that digital payment, he may be signing away his right to request more funds if the shop finds additional problems during the teardown. He must wait for the final, human-verified invoice before accepting any settlement. Robert's experience on the I-70 highlights the invisible war being fought over automotive data. His car is no longer just a machine. It is a witness, a reporter, and a liability. By the time he finishes his coffee and checks his settings, he has successfully siloed his data, forced a human-led estimate, and rejected a predatory instant settlement. He has protected his premiums and his vehicle's future value. But as the shop prepares to finalize the paperwork, Robert notices a new line item on the digital terminal: the tech surcharge for cloud-based calibration. The shop is claiming they need to pay a third-party data broker to unlock the safety systems they just repaired. This leads us to the final, most controversial hurdle of the Interstate repair journey: the battle for the digital key and the subscription lockout. What happens when the shop fixes the part, but the car manufacturer refuses to turn it on without a monthly fee? We are about to look at the rise of feature as a service, and how a simple repair can end up costing you a lifetime of monthly payments. In the next part, we dive into the subscription trap and the specific legal documents you need to sign to ensure you actually own the features you just paid to fix. The pay-to-play era of car ownership is here, and the Interstate Repair Center is the front line. The digital gatekeeping of 2026 has transformed the traditional mechanical repair into a persistent financial obligation. Imagine Maria, a high-performing consultant driving a 2026 flagship electric SUV along the I-95 corridor through North Carolina. A minor road hazard strike damaged the front-facing ultrasonic sensor array and the steering rack's electronic power assist module. The Interstate Repair Center she visited was top-tier, featuring clean rooms and technicians with high-voltage certifications. They physically replaced the damaged modules and performed the software handshake we discussed. However, when Maria attempted to re-engage her enhanced highway pilot, a semi-autonomous driving feature she paid $15,000 for when she purchased the vehicle, the system remained grayed out. A notification on her center console read, "Subscription verification required." This is the subscription trap, the most controversial evolution in the 2026 automotive market. Historical trends from the early 2020s, where manufacturers began experimenting with monthly fees for heated seats or remote start, have culminated in a reality where your vehicle's features are treated as temporary licenses rather than permanent property. In Maria's case, the repair triggered a security reset of the vehicle's central computer. Because the vehicle's internal clock and the manufacturer's cloud server did not sync perfectly during the reboot, the car defaulted to its base-level software configuration. To the car, Maria is no longer the owner of those high-end features. She is a user whose license has expired. To navigate this, you must understand the concept of Feature as a Service or FaaS. In 2026, manufacturers use these software-defined vehicle architectures to ensure recurring revenue. When a major component is replaced at an Interstate Repair Center, The system often requires a fresh API call to the manufacturer's headquarters to revalidate your feature set. If the shop is not an authorized digital partner, or if there is a discrepancy in your account, the feature stays locked. Maria is now facing a potential outcome where she might have to pay a $400 activation fee just to turn back on the features she already owns. This is not a mechanical failure. It is a digital toll booth. You need to look specifically for the Digital Rights Management or DRM line item on your final invoice. By 2026, these charges are often buried under names like Cloud Synchronization Fee or Module Authentication Surcharge. Case studies of stranded motorists in 2025 show that some shops charge up to $300 just to perform the 1-minute task of clicking a button on a laptop to re-verify a customer's subscription status. Step by step, Maria needs to demand a software audit log. This document proves whether the shop actually had to pay the manufacturer for the unlock, or if they are simply inflating the bill with an arbitrary digital fee. If the shop cannot show a direct invoice from the manufacturer for that specific activation, Maria has the leverage to have that fee removed. Furthermore, we have to talk about the EULA for hardware. When Maria signed the initial repair order, she likely missed a 3-page addendum titled End User License Agreement for replaced electronic components. This document often states that by installing this new part, you agree to follow the manufacturer's current software terms, which may have changed since you bought the car. Historical data suggests that some manufacturers use a repair event to force users into a newer, more expensive subscription tier. For example, Maria might find that her lifetime map updates have been downgraded to a monthly subscription because the new GPS module she just installed requires a new software version that only exists in the subscription-only cloud environment. Imagine if Maria refused to pay the subscription fee. The car remains physically safe to drive, but it is stripped of its value. In the 2026 resale market, a car with locked features is worth 30% less than one with a fully validated software stack. This is why the Interstate Repair Center is the front line of the right-to-repair movement. These shops are often caught between the customer who wants their car fixed and the manufacturer who wants to maintain a digital monopoly. Some independent interstate hubs have begun offering unauthorized software jailbreaks to re-enable these features, but this carries massive risks. A case study from Nevada in early 2026 involved a driver whose insurance was voided after a crash because the vehicle's telematics showed that the safety software had been tampered with to bypass a subscription lock. To protect yourself, you must insist on a feature validation checklist before you drive off the lot. This is a 5-minute process where you sit in the car with the technician and verify every single software-controlled feature. Check the adaptive cruise control, the lane centering, the remote climate control, and even the high-fidelity audio settings. If a feature that worked before the breakdown is now disabled, it is the shop's responsibility to resolve it with the manufacturer before you pay the final balance. Maria discovered that her fast charging capability had been throttled to half speed because the new battery management sensor hadn't been properly provisioned to her premium charging account. By catching this while still at the shop, she avoided a frustrating 20-hour wait at a charging station later that night. We also need to address the tokenization of car parts. In 2026, some high-end manufacturers have started issuing digital tokens for every physical part. When a shop installs a new headlight, they must transfer the token from the manufacturer's inventory to the vehicle's digital wallet. If the shop doesn't complete this transfer, the car may disable the headlight after 10 ignition cycles. This is known as a time bomb lock. Maria should ask for a token transfer receipt. This is a simple printout or email confirmation that the part has been legally and digitally married to her vehicle's VIN in the manufacturer's global database. Potential outcomes for an uninformed driver include a car that slowly degrades over the next week, as different software-protected modules realize they haven't been properly authenticated. This is a psychological warfare tactic designed to make you return to an authorized dealership and pay their much higher labor rates. But by being informed and demanding the digital paperwork, Maria was able to force the Interstate Center to spend an extra hour on the phone with the manufacturer's tech support to ensure her car was fully unlocked. Maria's experience reveals that the 2026 road trip is no longer just about fuel or electricity. It is about data permissions. She left the shop with her car physically restored and her software features fully validated. She avoided the activation fees by showing that her original purchase agreement included a lifetime license for the Highway Pilot. She had successfully defended her digital property, but as Maria pulls back onto the highway, she realizes that the stress of the repair has left her exhausted. She begins to notice a strange new notification on her dashboard, one that isn't red or yellow, but a soft, pulsing blue. It's a message from her vehicle's built-in wellness monitor, which has been tracking her heart rate and stress levels through the sensors in the steering wheel during the entire negotiation process. It's suggesting that she pull over at the next rest stop because her reaction times are 15% slower than her baseline. This leads us to the final, most important part of our masterclass. What happens in the 30 minutes after you leave the repair center? The psychological aftermath, the final road test, and the specific ways you must sanitize your car's data before you finish your journey. We are going to look at the post-repair cooling-off period and the one thing you must never do with your smartphone in the car for the first 24 hours after a major repair. The finish line is in sight, but the final trap is the one you set for yourself. In the final part, we reveal the ultimate exit strategy to ensure this interstate breakdown remains a memory and not a recurring nightmare. The ultimate exit strategy begins the moment your tires touch the exit ramp of the repair center and merge back into the high-speed flow of the American Interstate. For James, a logistics coordinator driving a 2026 hydrogen-electric hybrid through the Snoqualmie Pass on I-90, the instinct to immediately accelerate to 80 miles per hour to make up for 4 hours of lost time is overwhelming. However, historical trends in automotive failure analysis indicate that the first 10 miles after a major repair are the most dangerous. This is known as the infant mortality phase of a new component. Whether it is a fresh cooling hose, a rebuilt transmission, or a new high-voltage contactor, the part has not yet undergone a full thermal expansion cycle under true highway loads. James must resist the urge to rush. The first phase of his exit strategy is the 10-mile auditory and olfactory audit. For the first 10 miles, James should keep his speed at exactly the minimum posted limit, usually 45 or 55 miles per hour. He must keep the windows cracked and the audio system completely silent. He is listening for the frequency of mechanical dissonance. A high-pitched whistle could indicate a vacuum leak or a poorly seated turbocharger gasket. A rhythmic thumping that increases with wheel speed suggests a lug nut that was not torqued to the specific foot-pound requirement. A common error in high-volume shops where technicians are rushing to clear the next bay. James is also sniffing for the smell of burning sweetness, which is the telltale sign of atomized coolant hitting a hot exhaust manifold, or the acrid ozone scent of an electrical short. Potential outcomes of ignoring these early warning signs include a secondary breakdown in a much more dangerous, less accessible location than the repair shop he just left. As James crosses the 10-mile mark, he enters the most critical digital window of the entire trip, the 24-hour smartphone quarantine. In the 2026 automotive ecosystem, this is the one thing you must never do. Do not plug your smartphone into the vehicle's USB-C data port or allow a high-bandwidth wireless sync for at least 24 hours. The reason for this is rooted in the way modern vehicle health telematics interact with personal devices. When James's vehicle underwent a system reset, the central gateway module stored a historical log of every fault code triggered during the failure and the subsequent repair. If James plugs his phone in, his device's operating system, which in 2026 has deep-level vehicle health integrations, will often attempt to sync and backup the vehicle's diagnostic state to his personal cloud. If James has an insurance app or a vehicle history monitoring service active on his phone, those apps may have background permissions to scrape unfiltered diagnostic data. This data often includes pending or permanent codes that haven't been cleared by enough drive cycles yet. If the insurance algorithm sees a code for critical battery over temp or structural stress violation in the raw log, it can automatically flag the vehicle as having sustained permanent degradation. This can lead to a sudden and non-negotiable increase in premiums or a decrease in the vehicle's digital health score, which is the 2026 equivalent of a credit score for your car. By keeping the phone isolated and only using a standalone GPS unit for 24 hours, James allows the car to complete the necessary drive cycles to permanently erase those transient fault codes from its active buffer. The next step in the exit strategy is the data sanitization process. Before James reaches his final destination, he must verify that the shop has revoked their service token. In 2026, many interstate repair centers use a digital key, or a maintenance token, to bypass the vehicle's firewall and perform calibrations. If the technician fails to end session on their diagnostic terminal, your car remains in a developer state. This state often disables the vehicle's internal intrusion detection systems and can even leave the car's local Wi-Fi hotspot open to external connections. Case studies from 2025 show that vehicles left in service mode are significantly more vulnerable to remote exploitation. James should check his vehicle's Connected Services menu. If he sees an active technician session or an unknown authorized device, he must manually revoke that access immediately. This ensures that the shop no longer has the ability to track his location or access his vehicle's internal camera feeds. At the 50-mile mark, James reaches the thermal expansion check. He must pull into a safe, well-lit rest area and perform a physical inspection. This is the time to look for seepage. As parts heat up and cool down, metal and plastic expand at different rates. A bolt that felt tight in a 70-degree shop might become loose after 50 miles of 200-degree operating temperatures. James should look under the car for any fresh drips. He should check the fluid levels, coolant, brake fluid and inverter fluid, to ensure the levels haven't dropped as the system burps out any trapped air bubbles. Historical data from Interstate travel centers indicates that air pockets in the cooling system are a leading cause of engine failure within an hour of a repair. If the coolant reservoir is low, it means the system has finally settled, and James must top it off with the specific OEM-certified fluid he purchased back at the shop. The final phase of the Masterclass exit strategy is the adaptive learning recalibration. In 2026, your car's powertrain controller uses AI to learn your specific driving habits, how aggressively you accelerate, how you feather the brakes, and your typical cruising RPMs. When the shop performed a system reset, they wiped this learning buffer. For the next 100 miles, James will notice the car feels twitchy or sluggish. This is not a mechanical fault. It is the car's computer reprofiling the driver. James should use this time to drive as smoothly as possible. By providing clean data to the car's AI during this 100-mile window, he ensures the transmission shift points and regenerative braking settings are optimized for maximum efficiency. Before James puts this ordeal behind him, he must organize his digital shield. This involves more than just a paper receipt. He needs to ensure he has a copy of the pre-repair scan and the post-repair scan. These two documents are his legal before and after photos. If a secondary failure occurs 500 miles away, these scans prove that the shop successfully resolved the initial issue and that no other faults were present when he left. He also needs the part serialization report we discussed earlier. In 2026, this report is the only way to prove to a future buyer or a dealership that the repairs were performed with chain-of-custody, certified components. James finally reaches Seattle. The car is running perfectly, his data is sanitized, and his insurance premiums remain untouched. He has successfully navigated one of the most complex consumer environments in the United States. He didn't just survive an interstate repair. He managed the crisis with the precision of a professional. He knows that the national warranty is only as good as the paperwork he holds in his hand, and he has that paperwork backed up on an encrypted offline drive. The Interstate Auto Repair Center is a gateway. It can lead to a ruined vacation and financial hardship, or it can be a minor footnote in a successful journey. The difference lies entirely in your ability to look past the grease and the wrenches and see the digital and legal systems operating in the background. You are now equipped with the deep dive knowledge to handle any breakdown from the moment the check engine light flickers to the moment you park in your own driveway. But what happens when the repair is done, but the law says you shouldn't have been charged in the first place? In the next evolution of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the interstate legal rights and the lemon law loophole of 2026. We will reveal the secret manufacturer chargeback system that can get you a 100% refund on interstate repairs, even if you are out of warranty. The legal battle for your repair dollars is just beginning, and we are going to show you how to win it.